Yo, what up guys, so in today's video what I want to do is basically introduce you to network security, home security, device security, whatever you really want to call it, it's all the same thing. And in today's video what we're going to be using is Kali Linux and Nmap. Now, Nmap is installed on every single pen testing distribution. It's not installed, I don't think it's installed on any other Linux distributions. It might be, I'm not sure, I cannot remember. I think it's installed on Ubuntu. If not, you can always install it. Now, how do you install Nmap? Nmap, you just install sudo apt install Nmap. You just put the password in and it'll install Nmap. As you can see, I don't need to because I update my system regularly. And that's sort of it for installing. Now, Nmap is a basically reconnaissance tool. So basically, reconnaissance is something that we do whenever we do pen testing, CTF, system administrators, you do reconnaissance of their system or around their system to find open port information. They might have missed something out, and instead of basically looking manually through every single system in the world, what we can do is basically use a tool, right? And for this case we use Nmap. Nmap stands for Network Mapper, and it's basically, as I just said, right, it's used by professionals. It's a very good tool, powerful tool, and it should be something you, if you're interested in cybersecurity, if it will hacking, bug bounty is something you should get interested in. I have made videos about Nmap. I have actually made a full course about Nmap. I'll be updating it very soon. So if you would like to get yourself a spot before maybe the price will raise, make sure to check it out and get yourself a spot. So once you install Nmap, I just want to show you. So basically, if you do Nmap -h, sorry, -help, because -h doesn't work. It gives you a list full of information. Now, we don't actually need to know this. I'm just showing you just in case if you're new and you don't know. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to run a simple scan. How do we run a simple scan? Actually, before you do this, you need to know your IP address. So if you put ifconfig, ipconfig /o on Windows, ifconfig, and you have your IP address, you're looking for this. You're looking for inet, and your IP address is here. If you have these three things, now inet, net mask broadcast, you don't need to know any of this. You need to know inet, that this is your local IP address. This IP address cannot get you hacked unless someone's in your network, then yeah, sure, right? So there's a difference. This is your private IP address and there's a public IP address. Your public IP address is something that your ISP gives you, internet service provider gives you, right? That can get you hacked. If you expose your ISP address, that can get you hacked because that basically identifies your home network or your internet, right? So that's something you want to keep private. Right, so we're going to do sudo nmap, and then what we're going to do is actually the first, before we even do anything, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a simple scan of devices on your network, right, but with a little twist, because what we're going to do is run standard scripts, which basically looks for vulnerabilities in services and overall on your network, right? So now I'm not gonna run it on my network because I will expose my sort of devices on my network, right? So I'm going to show you the command and you can run it on your network. So what I recommend running is -o, which basically prints the operating system, -sv, which gives you details, and -sc, which stands for standard crypts. Now, if you run these three things, it will give you information that you need to get going, and you can also look for vulnerabilities, and then you can look for stuff that are important in basically looking for stuff, right? Or reconnaissance or recon, whatever you want to call it. So if you do 192.168.142 and you do /24 and you press enter, I'm not going to run enter because I said it's going to show all my devices, right? I don't want to show you guys my old devices. It should. Now, it matters what your IP address, but if you run it with basically your IP address should be the same as me, right? Obviously it might be different from this and maybe different from this, but it should be similar. If you run it with a prefix 24, it should be fine. If not, then you're gonna have to go through networking nodes. I don't want to sit here too long because I'll have to be here for another 15 minutes explaining networking basics to you guys, which I don't want to do because this is about finding vulnerabilities, right? If you're looking for vulnerabilities, I guess you have some networking knowledge and you're most likely not a beginner. However, if you guys would like to learn networking, I have made thousands of tutorials. I have, as I said, I just made a Udemy course about networking as well. So go ahead if you want to look through that. It will be in the description, and you can get yourself a course on Udemy, and then it's available to you. It doesn't matter if I update it, you don't need to pay anything else ever again. So what I'm going to do is Control C just to delete that, and once you run that, it will show you all your devices in the world. It will show you some information. However, you might want to look for a device, and you might want to basically, maybe you're looking for, I just installed a CCTV camera, and I want to look if it's vulnerable, right? So what you would do is sudo nmap. Now, you don't actually have to run sudo, but I run sudo just so it doesn't ask me for permissions, right? It doesn't ask me for root. So if you do svsc, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it on my Kali machine to show you guys how it looks, prints out the actual result. So it should not take it. Now, if you press enter while it's running, it should show you how long it's going to take. Now, I think it's finished. Yeah, so as you can see, it says 11 seconds remaining, but it didn't take, well, it's actually going faster. The last time I ran it was like 14, now it's 12.5, that's good, okay. So, as you can see, it gives us an output, which is, it tells you how long it's been running for. Now, a good thing to keep a note of is if it's 1 up, that's good, because that means it's up. We can also ping it. If you do ping 192.168.1.42, now I'm basically pinging myself right now, right? But this means it works. If you do it from another device, it works. If you press Ctrl C, it cancels the whole pinging, right? That's because Linux keeps going and Windows doesn't. Windows sends 4 pings and it stops. So as you can see, we have a port state service version, right? So we have port 2222, TCP, OpenSSH. Now, if you were to run sudo nmap and just with the IP address with no flags or switches, these are flags, by the way. I call them flags, you can call them switches, some people call them something else, options, right? So I call them flags or switches. Usually in education centers, they call them switches for, I don't know what reason, it annoys me really if they call it that, but whatever. Right, so as you can see, it says not shown 1000 ports, which means we only see 2 ports. I'll show you in a second how to run a proper scan of seeing every single port in the world, but let me just go through the information first, right? So as you can see, we have port 22222, SSH, OpenSSH. Now, this is critical information. How do we know if this is vulnerable? Well, I can't tell you because I don't know, or I do know because I do CTFs, right? So I can tell you that this is not vulnerable. This is the most up-to-date SSH, right, possible. So this is not vulnerable at all. But what you need to do is whatever service comes out to you, you need to run it through Google, right, or ExploitDB. You just need to do some research and find if it's vulnerable. If it's vulnerable, you need to update it or do something about it, all right? Or maybe if you're running FTP, then you might need to upgrade to SFTP, right? You might need to upgrade to another port, right? Or you just need to maybe update your operating system. There's 1,000 things you might need to do, but you just need to look on the internet if it's vulnerable. If it's vulnerable, try and update it. That should sometimes will solve the problem, right? That's why operating system updates are very, very important. That's why also you can actually obviously find a system that's vulnerable. For example, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, these are all vulnerable, whereas Windows 11 is not vulnerable because it's the most up-to-date system. Obviously, if you turn off your firewall, it's vulnerable, right? And as you can see, it's a different port. That's why it's also known. It's also good if you were to know the ports, right? Because as you can see, I've changed my port. And as you can see, I'm running a 3389, which is a remote desktop protocol. So now I'm going to show you how to actually run a scan of all ports in the world that you're running on your device, right? So we're going to do this sudo nmap, and we're just going to run pp -p-, and what we're going to do is run localhost, right? Localhost stands for your local device. So localhost can mean, actually, we're going to do this, sorry. What I'm going to do is, as you can see, because I've not run the -sv flag, it doesn't show me exact names, right? So if you don't know localhost means the local device. So this will scan the device you're running this against, right? So if you want to run against another device with a different IP address, you need to put the IP address in, or it's not going to work, right? So as you can see, when I run a scan and it says open SSH, it's basically the same information, right? Nothing changed. Right, so as I said, you can just look at the internet. If some things are vulnerable, some things are not, you might have to upgrade to SFTP, you might have to upgrade to HTTPS, right? There's a lot of things you need to basically look for. I could be here sitting all day telling you what to do. You just need to look for vulnerabilities and trying to find a solution. I'll make I'll make some videos in the future how to secure some stuff. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you can leave a like, subscribe, comment, follow me on Twitter, check out my card, and see you guys later. Thank you for watching.